All right, everybody, welcome to Moonhawk Studios Presents. I am your host, Mac Paladin, and with me in the studio, as always, is my good friend Adam.
Hello.
Quite a latency there. Are you thinking that you were doing this from the viewer's side?
I mean, we're having tech problems all over the board this week.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Fun times. Fun times.
We got Kevin here.
Yep. We're supposed to be at full strength, but well, technology decides to disagree with us.
Mm-hmm. Suppose we could just go live on YouTube.
We are live right now.
Yeah, well.
Facsimile of that, but yes.
Like it's mostly working.
Yeah, well.
We have a petty fan handling something that vaguely resembles technology.
Internal screaming is happening everywhere inside of me.
Yeah, probably tearing your hair out in your head right now.
Why is there red in my hands? Oh.
Yes, I am also here.
We've allegedly got a great show for you tonight. We'll see how it goes. In the meantime, Adam, why don't you start us off with the news?
I mean, the news is the internet's made out of breadsticks this week.
I think breadsticks would be good because they'd actually be tastier.
Yeah.
This tastes like sadness. This tastes like sadness and regret.
Mm-hmm.
And a bit of salt.
Mm-hmm.
The salt's coming from me.
Like,
Anyway,
for actual personal news, I have to get up tomorrow early in order to pick up food for my brother. It's a whole thing. Like, you know, he's working at that particular moment in time and needs somebody to pick up a food order he made. I owe him for some energy drinks. I got to go do that tomorrow morning. Fun times. Like, that's really it. Kevin, what's going on with you?
Well, I am the employee of the month for my theater for the month of June, so congratulations to me. I've been working for 3 years, and I finally did enough to get that acknowledgement.
Hooray!
Then again, they're probably stepping up when other people are going down with sickness of some sort, and people want someone to take their shifts, and I go, hi, I'll do it. Because I got nothing else to do. And Papa need money. So, yeah, there's that. So, yeah, that's basically my time at AMC is all that's happening with me at the moment. So that's all what's going on with me. Petty, what's your news?
Oh, God. So, I trust you saw what was going on in private business.
Oh, boy.
Last Thursday, my mom got fired from her job.
Oh, boy.
Her fellow employee was out for almost 2 months because she had a heart attack, and then they found she had a blood clot in her leg, and they left mom to run an office that should be manned by 3 people alone. Mom had to schedule people every 15 minutes.
Oh, boy.
And then she got behind on paperwork. And then first they gave her a write-up because, you know.
Right.
And then she was like maybe 1 or 2 days behind when they fired her. Because how can you get paperwork in when you're scheduling people every 15 minutes and need to do their intake paperwork? So they were basically expecting her to be some kind of superhuman. And then her coworker came back that Monday, and Thursday the big boss just came in and told mom she was fired.
Hmm.
So we've been,
Wow.
yeah. Like, I know this is kind of an ass thing to do, but I'm not sure why you'd want to keep the person who just had a heart attack and a blood clot removed and was out of work for almost 2 months. But that's just me.
Yeah. I mean, frankly, to fire that person would probably. I mean, it's an asshole. It's a bad move, no matter what.
Yeah.
Whatever here.
Yeah.
But frankly, firing the person who was out because of a blood clot.
And I could see if this was a work-related thing,
Kind of
but
feels work.
it
Yeah.
wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So
But yeah, I mean, this is basically firing someone for, not being, exactly what you want her to be,
not
which is
being a
not something
superhuman
she's
that can
supposed
do
to
the
be.
work of 3 people,
Right.
and
Right.
will only do it for $18 an hour.
Exactly. Right.
And then the best part, the Friday after the day after they fired her, Mom had an appointment to get a arm brace because she has carpal tunnel from her fall at her
Mm-hmm.
hospital job. She
Oh
had
boy.
appointments scheduled like every 15 minutes that afternoon. They canceled all of them.
Mm-hmm. Oh my
So
god.
the previous coworker could, not be overwhelmed. If they would have done that for Mom, she would have been caught up on paperwork.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because Missouri is a right to work state or a at will
Uh-huh.
employment state, there's nothing we can do.
No. No.
So yeah, that's infuriating. Because even the ladies at unemployment, she was, around before the whole, at will employment stuff really kicked off. It was like, yeah, if this was before that she could have sued them for that.
Mm-hmm.
But because at will employment's a thing, nope.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we now get to play the fun game of, helping Mom find another job. So here's hoping we find one that doesn't want her to be some sort of superhuman.
Mm-hmm.
The only good thing is that she now has office experience again.
Yeah.
Because of her injury at her previous job at the hospital, she can't do what she went to school for anymore. She used to process sterile instruments, but because her arm's messed up permanently, she can't do that anymore because that's like lifting 80 to 100-pound packages daily. So at least now she has office experience again, so hopefully it'll be a little bit easier this time around. But who knows? And that's really kind of the big thing. As far as like Fragment's programming stuff goes, we were streaming some Digimon World 3. That is going to be currently on hiatus for a few weeks because Final Fantasy XIV's expansion. So me and Ogre need to get that squared away so we can get ready for raids in a few weeks.
Is Naka still in your guild?
His character is there, but he has not been online in forever.
That's about what I thought.
So yeah, I don't know if I haven't actually talked to Ogre about like if Naka is still interested in playing. For all I know, he could be playing another character on another server. And yeah, I'm just I'm gonna try and stream my run through of the 14 expansion if I can. It depends how stable the servers are. Because if it's going to be 2 hours of me trying to log in, that doesn't make for very exciting content. So if the servers seem stable, we'll be getting some streams of me running through the new expansion story. If I don't go live, then it's probably going to be just me bashing my head against a wall because I'm going to be home alone for the next weekend because Mom, Dad, and sister are going to a funeral because I believe I mentioned this, that my grandma died last month, so
Yeah.
they're going to her funeral, so they get to enjoy dealing with my dad's family, and I get to take care of the kitties and jump in the pool whenever I want.
There you go.
See, it's
No
fun.
family drama. No family drama.
They hate me because I'm very much an atheist, and yeah, they're all Bible beaters.
Well, yeah, there you go.
So yeah, because I don't have any children, and because I don't,
You're
am
not 100% on the team.
I'm not on their
as it were.
cult, so, and also I'm very left leaning, so yeah, they just hate me, and I'm fine with that.
I feel I'm somehow the most extremely luckiest person about the fact that I really don't have this kind of stuff within my family.
Yeah.
How I don't know, but I don't.
Do you want to adopt me?
Like, because
That would be like work.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's like my lover has conservative parents and conservative stuff like that. You have religious people in your family. For some ungodly reason, I don't have any drama in terms of religion, politics, or whatever.
Lucky.
It's not. I'm lucky. I'm the luckiest man on the face of the earth because of that.
At least the
frankly.
luckiest man in this chat room.
The chat
I
room,
am. No, my family is fine too.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you guys can do whatever the opposite of commiserate is.
Anyway. But yeah, anyway.
But yeah, I think that's
bomb
all
on
me.
you, bomb on you, and tell us how perfect our lives are. Yes, please.
But yeah,
I don't
think
like
that's
seeing it, but
from
it's sad
me.
to say it.
Gulix.
Yeah.
Gulix.
Oh, sorry.
We didn't know who
Yeah,
Gallus
the biggest-
was. We know who Gallix is, but we didn't know who
Yeah.
Gallus was.
English is hard. Leave me
Look,
alone.
I have two fans on. Okay. Probably the biggest thing that happened to me in the past week is joining Petty for that Digimon World thing, which was fun. And then
You
today
guys are real
was
useful
a
for killing dead air.
today was a good. Today was a cookout at work, so that was fun. Though a little
jamming
bit
with
draining
Frank
because there were a lot of loud people around. And then this coming weekend, I mean, people brought their families, which included both partners and children. So, and then this weekend is the local nerd convention, which I'm probably only going to go for a couple hours after work on Friday, but we'll see.
Go kidnap people to be guests. I mean, wait, what?
PortCon Maine does not generally get many big names.
I mean, they don't have to be big, so.
Also, those aren't usually the panels I want to go to anyway, but yeah.
You'd be surprised who you find in Artist Alley.
I usually mostly just look at the art, but yeah, I suppose that's possible.
See, press badges are fun. But yeah, anyway.
I think that's honestly most of what I've had going on.
All right. I was going to attempt to start the new overall streaming schedule this week with Not Safe for Work Picardo streams last night and all that stuff. But I've been having some minor difficulties that have prevented me from doing so. Not the least of which was that yesterday I was feeling kind of like a 6 or 7-ish on the pain meter.
Fun.
And so I really had a lot of trouble focusing. And I said, well, let me just toddle over to Raising Cane's and see if a little chicken dinner will help settle me, and I'll do the art stream after like 10, and then it started becoming 11. and then 12.
I know
Uh,
that, chronic pain. Hello.
and then and then it was just like, between the restless leg and laying on the floor in the dark and watching somebody's long play of Star Trek Resurgence. I just like, I guess it's not happening. And I went to go look at my collection of unfinished comics that I need to publish. And I was like, oh, look, they're not even close to ready. So I'll just go in the corner and not exist.
I know
For
that
24
feel.
hours. So anyway, what did I my trip to San Diego, I guess everybody would want to hear some element of that. So of course,
Yes, what were you doing with a San Diego?
Getting sand in my, never mind.
Anyway,
Let's not.
It was actually- it was-
Anchorman.
In your
That'll
Eggo
be
waffles,
fine.
surely.
That'll be fine. That'll be fine. Moving on.
Anyway,
60% of the time it works every time. That doesn't even make sense. It was actually pretty relaxing. I mean, I was still kind of tired because I was having trouble sleeping in a bed that wasn't my own. I was at my longtime friend's house. He lives in a lovely home out in Ramona because it's too goddamn expensive to actually live in any major city in Southern California. He's like, yeah, well, I mean, we paid $675,000 for this house versus the $1.3 million in Chula Vista, and I was like, damn, dude. I mean, considering the fact that 20 years ago my folks sold their house in Eastlake for almost $1 million, it was like $990,000 just before the housing bubble burst. This is not surprising that Chula Vista is now ranging on average in the 1.3 million range for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house or better.
Worse.
Mm-hmm. So it's not surprising that you can't even get a dump or a shack for less than $1 million anymore in SoCal. My old apartment on Dennery Road. So this was right off the 805 freeway, but they classified it as a luxury apartment. Now they've built sound dams across the freeway to kind of make that community more quiet. But I digress. It was classified as City of San Diego because it was along the sides of the freeway. But it was this little recessed community near shopping amenities and major schools, up in the hills, off the freeway, easy access to everything in the county. 1,400 square feet, dual masters. In 2002, it was $1,265 a month. Now it's $3,700 a month, according to Rent.com.
Jesus.
Yeah. But it was a really nice house in a HOA community.
Yeah,
Lovely,
nope.
but the HOA is kind of non-invasive. It's surprising how not present they were.
Yeah, well, that's what you like to think.
My friend lives on a block that only has 2 other houses that ends in a cul-de-sac, which is basically just a crossing section for the golf carts from one end of the golf course to the other. So, and there is no room for any other building there. It's all private managed land that gives you a lovely view of a mountain valley, and it's near Barona. It's near Barona Casino. But yeah, they have an AstroTurf lawn because you can't grow grass in California. And it was just nice. It's him and his wife and their 2 kids, and it was just nice. I just went and hung out, and he gave me a metric ton of computer components they didn't feel that he could sell in the store anymore. They were forced unceremoniously to move my old stomping grounds of Elite Computers from East 8th Street and Proctor Valley Road to Bonita Road and Otay Lakes Road, right there in the shopping center where the Boll Weevil used to be. Remember Boll Weevil, anybody?
no.
Yeah, it was definitely a Southwest thing. Definitely a Southern California thing. It was a burger joint famous for their half-pound and 1-pound burgers. Family dining with a sort of cowboy-esque feel. I remember vaguely dining there once when I was about 12. So 35 years ago. But yeah, and then it became a financial office, and now it's a computer store with an unusual layout, but it was neat, you know. I just basically sat there and was babysitting his kids and making sure that, you know, just taking a decompression because I've had some setbacks this month. Car got repossessed. Folks got me into another one. Still a 2017 Fusion, but it's a titanium.
Ooh.
A real nice one. It has air-conditioned leather seats.
Fun.
I'm going to be paying through the nose on this thing until I'm dead. What with my 15% interest rate, thanks to my lousy credit score. But other than that, I'm happy with the car. I needed a few days to reset, and the parts and things that he sent me packing with. I got a newer iPhone XR to replace my iPhone 8, but he went ahead and fixed my iPhone 8 for me because it was only $40. So, you know, because he's got connections. Would have been at least $150 to get this damage repaired to it here in Tucson. So, never look a gift horse in the mouth. Got enough components to rebuild the art machine that had died in the flood.
Oh, right. Yeah, you did mention that.
Yeah. So now instead of a i5 6500, it's an i7 7700K. And I managed to get
Is it still slot in the same board, or?
No, I got a motherboard and processor. He gave me 3 or 4 motherboard and processor combos. He said, yeah, something will work here.
Yeah.
So he gave me this one that was the 7700. It's on a B250 board. Similar to what I had before, but full size. So it has two PCI. It has 3 16x PCI Express slots on it. So 2 level 3 and 1 level 2, or 2.0. And yeah, I was able to cobble together from other parts that I had. He gave me a 6600K, which is an i5 processor that's vastly superior to the 6500 Skylake, on a Z270 board.
Oh man.
Yeah, fancy. And he gave me a 6800K processor that goes on my X99 board, although I have to do a BIOS update to make it work because it don't post. It don't post natively, Doodles. Doodle's my cat. She's sitting here looking at me longingly right now. She's like, I want lap space. He gave me some 7th or 8th generation i3 processor on another B250 motherboard that's a micro that's sitting on a desk right now. And he gave me an assortment of working and non-working graphics cards to fiddle with. I did get a working RTX 2080 Titanium Dual, which is a humongous card, and a Ryzen 9 3950X that they thought was questionable, but appears to work. I do need a liquid cooling system for it, though, because the bastard runs hot with all those graphics cards, because I also got a GTX 980. Whole system is just loaded with graphics cards and stuff, so it's currently running at 96C, so I can't leave it on 24/7, otherwise it will melt. The safety range for that processor is between 65 and 80 degrees Celsius. It's like 112 or 115 watt processor. So I'm going to get an all-in-one. I'm going to get some more case fans. I've got a few laying around Doodles, you're going to rip the cord out on my headphones. Thank you for not jumping. I had to catch her mid-jump so she didn't rip my headphone cord out.
Father, love me.
Yeah. I've gotten very good at that over the years. She goes to take a leap, and I very gently and casually catch her in midair and place her on the floor after detangling her. Been doing that for 12 years now. My cat's rather large. But yeah, it was just a nice trip. I got a lot of stuff fixed. We tried to update the sync system in my car, but unfortunately the Ford no longer supports it, so the update wouldn't go. But I don't care because I have Google Maps on my dashboard now.
Yeah.
And got a lot of stuff ready for Arcade Anarchy, which is a feature I'm hoping to do on Fridays, which will be simulcast on Twitch and TikTok once I get better internet. For the meantime, it's probably just going to be on Twitch with clips on TikTok, but we'll see how that goes. TikTok may go away, so
Yeah.
I'm not really banking on that. There's too much money involved. Somebody's going to pay somebody off, and it's all going to go away.
Well, we'll see.
That's what I think. I think there's a lot of saber rattling on China's part right now, and they're going to relent because they don't want to lose all that money.
We'll see.
That's what I think. I don't think that they're foolish enough to think that the European Union is going to give them a better deal.
Anyway.
But I mean, that's pretty much it. Everything's pretty much setting up so that I can get back to doing artwork. Now that the art machine is functional again, I can actually start uploading stuff to Patreon. I can start working on animation again, which means that I will be able to move forward with the various Starship Moonhawk related projects. And that's that. All right. So with that in mind, we're going to move on to the main event for tonight. I don't know why I'm saying it like I'm preaching to a live audience at this moment.
We're kind of live.
But are we? Are we really?
Are we really alive?
Good point. I was going to say the stream doesn't seem to be having any problems at the moment, but then you made it all existential.
That's a different kind of problem.
We are.
Tonight's guest is the unknown factor of the QUESTionare podcast. Welcome to the show.
How goes it?
Shall I just refer to you as the unknown, or shall I call you Factor, or how shall we refer to you tonight?
I mean, Fabian referred to me as Mr. Factor during the first time he was on the quest, which I always thought was hilarious.
Tell us about.
That's fair.
Tell us about the quest. What do you guys do? What is your main thing? Pretend like we know nothing.
I mean, we mainly interview comic book creators for the most part. We've had creators from every level that you can think of. We've also started to get into interviewing some other people. I mean, the main thing would be we've had Alan Henry on, who played the Cocaine Bear. He did a number of things for the Marvel and DC films, as well as Lord of the Rings. I mean, look up his IMDb. It's fairly extensive. I recommend the BFG. It's a children's film that totally is titled that has a title that does not sound like a children's film whatsoever. Because unlike the BFG, like, I don't sound like kid friendly. It's totally kid friendly and hilarious, and my 5-year-old loved it. I just think that's funny. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, we bring on comic book creators. We talk about what's in the works. Sometimes we do pan cons where we bring on a series of creators and talk whatever topic. I went into season 2. I just dropped episode 22 of season 2. Going into season 2, there was a lot of changes, and I've still got more coming as far as we've assembled a bit more of a team over here at the QUESTionare with the rotating co-hosts, which are all just past guests except for Dave Milburn, who is my local comic book guy who works up in Mage's Comics and Games. Everyone else is a past guest. Like I said, before I got on here with you, I just wrapped with David Papose with Stephen Grant co-hosting. So it's been a ride. It's been a trip. Just trying to get the creators known a little bit more and discuss their opinions on a number of many different topics. I don't think there are very few topics we haven't covered in some capacity over the probably getting close to 100 episodes of the QUESTionare at this point, with all kinds of different people, different perspectives, different places. I mean, one of the co-hosts is Vladimir Povov, and he's in Serbia.
Ah.
It took a
That's
moment.
That's a bit of a trek across hemispheres there.
Yeah, he's the guy because we typically do it at 9 o'clock. So I mean, he's up at like 3, 4 in the morning doing a clip. So Vlad's definitely a trooper in that regard, and I appreciate them all. Yeah.
All right. Let's we're gonna flip things around a little bit here, as is our tradition on this show. Adam is going to handle the formal side of things here, so he's going to ask you a series of questions, and I will add follow-up questions and commentary as I am able as we proceed. So, Adam, you got the floor, buddy.
Okay. Well, I think we should touch upon something that you were mentioning in the pre-show, and that is how you started in this broadcasting business, as it were. Because I've been wondering how this journey happened. Because you told us you started out in terms of producing radio content.
Look, no, it's
Go ahead.
it's kind of a long story, so there's no way to properly ask that question without knowing part of it.
All right.
I started doing hip hop in Indiana. I made a lot of people not like me until I ended up like getting this interview on this radio that was ran by this dude. He said, "Come on and do a show." After I was done conducting the interview, he's like, "Hey man, you should come on and host the show." And I was like, "Hey, all right," because I figure if I'm hosting the show on an underground radio and I'm interviewing people that are in that, and then it also helps my music get out more. So I started doing that, and then he ended up kind of stabbed me in the back, and that's a whole story that ended up in me about getting jumped at a bar, and that's a whole different story. And there's a track about it. It's me and DKB, but that's a whole different story. But when he did that, I'm giving you the brief to where we can get to the questionnaire. It's got to go fast. So when he did that, I ended up starting a radio called NFGR because I had a bunch of interviews scheduled at that time, and I didn't want to. I had the choice of either canceling all the interviews or taking the knowledge that I had and creating something better. I chose the latter. I created NFGR. On NFGR, we ended up interviewing everything from hip hop stars, adult film stars. We had a comic book show. It's the reason that Matt Hawkins is the first episode of the questionnaire is because he was interviewed on NFGR when it was running. It's the only reason I was able to do that. So you're gonna me and my other half of Killer Factor interviewing an adult film star about aliens for like over an hour within NFGR. Ended up having a kid, so ended up taking that down. But then, a while later, I was doing some other music stuff, and I ended up starting 2 podcasts. One was out of my pure love and passion, which is for comic books, because I've loved comic books my entire life. And I'm like, you know what? I've done this. I'd love to just like really start really being able to talk to people. And the people that I've been able to talk to on the questionnaire, it amazes me the list from, just this season. We've had Alan Henry back on again. Tim Seeley's been on. Tony Fleece has been on. Like I said, I just got done talking to Dave Propose. It's a list that I can't tell you how, like, it kind of amazes me to know that I've spoken all these people. And then some of the co-hosts, like the fact that Stephen Grant and Erica Schultz are rotating co-hosts, and everything that Stephen's done and Erica is doing right now, kind of crazy. The other show I started was for a hip hop thing, and when somebody goes on a meth run while you're filming an interview, you tend to be like, I don't think this show is being taken seriously by the rest of everyone who's supposed to be. So, and I run the questionnaire now.
Wow.
I'm like, I'm not exactly sure how to proceed from that.
When the first meth run comes out, where do you start?
Right, and here I thought that the most important part was going to be the whole betrayal thing, and I was going to snidely say, well, not that we know anything about betrayal at this podcast, but suddenly it seems unimportant.
Yeah.
Look, there's a reason.
These are our favorite guests, the one where we think we know, but we actually don't.
I wasn't given the stage name, or I didn't give myself the stage name, The Unknown Factor. And then I'll leave it at that. Like, it's not like I was like, you know what, the clever name? That. No, I never thought that. But somebody said it at one point after I wrote it in a lyric, and I was like, because I was like, you can call me an Unknown Factor, like saying that, like I'm, like similar to one, and he's like, that's your name, and I was looking at it, and I was like, yeah, all right. And it obviously works because that's the entirety of the story of how it ended up with the questionnaire, and I'm getting ready to play D&D with a dude that played Cocaine Bear here in just a little while, and that's where that led.
I'm
Oh,
like,
that sounds fun.
Man, we're gonna be. That's something I'm getting ready to add into the questionnaire. Is about every month or two, we're gonna start running a game of D&D, hosted by Hannibal Taboo, who's created an entire D&D world called The Sundering, and it's gonna be ostensibly where people can get dropped in and out. So it's gonna be a different group of creators every time we play. I don't know exactly how that's going to go. We're just starting it. So we'll see what happens with that one. But I know the first game's looking very interesting.
I mean, that sounds like how D&D usually goes. Really, any pen and paper role-playing game.
And what's even funnier is that everything always comes back to frickin' D&D.
It's a popular game among nerds.
I haven't played. I haven't played since I was like 17. But we did a PanCon recently that had Alan and Hannibal and what Dave was on it, and Scott as well. And what were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about the influence of comics and films on one another. Because, I had a bunch of comic book creators, and I had Alan, who's worked in comic book films. So we were having that discussion. At a point, D&D just got brought up, and it just evolved into, all right, well, we're all going to play D&D.
Well,
And
yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm tripping here. Trying to gracefully recover from that stumble there. Sorry.
It's okay, dude. That's been life for the past 8 years. That's a real brief summary of a portion of my past 8 years of my life. There's way more than that. That's
Nice.
a small, yeah.
I was just going to say, in regards to the sort of nexus between comics and D&D, is that I was just thinking back to the fact that 12 years ago we had Fred Perry on this podcast, of course, the creator of one of the founding members of Antarctic Press and the creator of Gold Digger. And when we asked him, we said, "Well, what exactly inspired Gold Digger?" And he started in about, well, it was a D&D campaign, and there was like a the instant he said that, because I was like, all right, we'll just go with it.
You were very much against campaigns turned into comics at the time.
It's because it's tropey. It's I don't know. It's a thing. But you know what? I've kind of softened my view on that over the years. It's kind of funny when it comes up, because every time that it's just like a inside joke,
You have to do a lot of revision anyway to make it work well.
Of course. And obviously he clearly made it vastly more original than whatever they were actually doing in D&D. It's just interesting because it all circles back to that now. I mean, you've got podcasts like D20 and
Critical Role,
Viva La Dirt League, down in Australia and stuff like that. So it's like it's no longer niche. It's mainstream. It's everywhere.
Look, that's the funny thing if you think about it. This is a discussion I've had with several creators on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that used to be considered very, very, very nerdy is all very mainstream now. But if you look at it, it's only truly the surface of it that's nerdy. Okay, yeah, D&D is all, everybody knows who that is. Everybody knows who Iron Man and Captain America and Wolverine and Deadpool and Batman and Joker and Harley Quinn and all these characters and on and on and on. Aquaman,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. How many people are actually going out and reading the comic books, playing D&D, actually, you know what I mean? I mean, at most people are buying a t-shirt or a pop and going and seeing the film.
Well, like part of the reason why it's becoming mainstream now is because the people who grew up with it are getting older and having kids and exposing their kids.
And
That's
also
true.
just there's more communication, so the people who are into it are able to find more people to do it, which gives more people reason to talk about it, so
gives
more
us a
people
feedback
run into
loop, and
it.
it builds and builds and builds and builds. Back in the early 2000s, 90s, you didn't have any of that. If you didn't subscribe to specific magazines, you weren't really exposed to this.
That's funny because I just had what was it? Damn it! Who? Oh yeah, it was when I was talking to Howard Wong. We were talking about how they used to do the casting calls and the wizards, and I have actually got a few wizards on my bookshelf, and they'd cast Stone Cold Steve Austin as Captain America in the Ultimate X universe. Yeah. So yeah,
Right.
you very much had to have those magazines. I just still have a couple of them.
Yeah, because you couldn't just jump online and go find a podcast in early 2000s or late 90s. They didn't exist yet.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get back to the mainline questioning, if at all possible. Adam, let's proceed here.
Right.
Nice little
And
tangent, though. I did like that, though.
it's expected for this program. Anyway,
I swerve really hard a lot. Just fair
Same.
warning.
yeah.
Sidetrack? What are you talking about? That's our main track.
We multi-track drift here. Let's be real.
Like,
Yeah.
there's supposed to be a main track. What the hell are you talking about?
It's
I'm like,
what kind of show did you bring me on here? What kind of show did you bring me on here? Jesus.
yeah, essentially, but it's whatever we find most interesting at that particular moment in time.
Right.
Anyway, so in terms of liking comics, what did you read? I'm assuming Big Two.
What do I read now, or what did I read when I started?
Both.
Okay, because those are very, very, very good questions.
Oh yeah. That's a question in two parts there.
Yeah. I mean, I initially, because it's funny, Vlad actually interviewed me on the last episode of season 2, and I really had to think about this question. But the first comics I really remember were, the McFarlane cover of Spider-Man where he's in the web. If you don't, I'm ending this interview right now.
Yeah, remember that one.
Okay, I'm like, I'll walk. Like, you should know that. You should know that particular issue. I very much remember that, and then the Lizard storyline and everything within that, and then I really started on the X-Men. Claremont. I mean, who didn't love Claremont's run? I got very heavily into Deadpool. I loved Chaos when it existed. I loved Top Cow's emergence when it happened. I got into a lot of the Image stuff. I really like Top Cow. I read quite a bit of Dark Horse. DC never caught my interest much, except for a few select titles. When that comes to Hitman by Garth Ennis, where they let him take that character, put it in the universe, and take it out of the universe. I love that. I love how it was handled. Garth Ennis has always been one of my favorite writers for a long time. Lobo? Yeah, But I like the Flash. But yeah, DC never attracted my attention enough to where it garnered the amount of time, because there were always other books that I enjoyed more. Now, I'm reading Blood Hunt because I read the Blade comic, and then I love how they bled that storyline in, and then Erica Schultz is doing the Blood Hunters book, and I just love her work. I mean, she's, like I said, a past guest of the show and also one of the co-hosts. And she sent me at one point a care package of some of her past books, and I've never read anything by Erica that wasn't phenomenal. She's writing so much, I'm not getting it all, but that's because she's doing really, really well and writing a lot for Marvel right now. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I'll always read Deadpool.
Yeah.
Because, and I think I've read, like I said, I've read Deadpool my whole life, man. There's not a lot of Deadpool comics or comics he's appeared in that I haven't read in some capacity. I think people don't see the tragedy in that story as much as it really is there. Because if there is a tragic story in comics, man, Wade's one of them. Wade's got a pretty tragic story, and it's driven him a little crazy. And it would most people, you know?
Yeah.
But there are different examples of things. But yeah, man, I go all over the place. I follow writers more than anything. Like, oh my God, dude, I'm reading, like, Tony Felice is ridiculous right now. Dropping Local Man with Tim Seeley, which are you guys reading that?
Don't think so.
Oh, I think it just got nominated for Best New Series for the Eisners, and
man.
it should have. It's
I think
phenomenal.
I mostly read comics after I hear people talking about them.
I can't tell you how many times I bring on a creator on the show, and now I'm like, son of a.
You know,
You know,
you know, when we want to get our wick wet talking about comics, we usually bring Linkara on the show.
I know. I was about to say, where's Linkara at? Is he waiting off stage somewhere?
It also depends on what type of comic we want to talk about.
You gotta understand any ignorance on my part. Like, I know characters and I know authors, but I don't necessarily know the details of the stories and stuff like that, because I haven't actually actively read comics since the late '90s, and that's because That's because I've spent 41 years, you know, basically living and breathing Star Trek and Star Wars fandom and arguing with that fan base, and that's a full-time job.
no, thank you. No, thank you. And no, thank you.
You couldn't
Right.
pay this man enough,
But-
and I applaud.
Yeah, no, I'm smart enough to know not to. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know when
So-
they say
you
no to drugs?
So
Say no
you
to
understand.
fighting with the Star Trek fandom.
Yeah, you have this thing. You have this. So you understand where I'm coming from on that point. You know that it's like a lot of my time has been absorbed both voluntarily and involuntarily. Like, I just had an argument yesterday with some dude where he was commenting on the fact that J.J. Abrams is referred to as Jar Jar Abrams, and was talking about, you know, the time frame between the prequels where Jar Jar Binks appeared first and where you know, where the franchise is now. And I said, you do understand that Star Trek fandom gave him that name. It was not given to him by Star Wars fandom. He was called Jar Jar Abrams because of a review of the 2009 movie where they said it's the best Star Wars film ever made. But it's not Star Trek. And so we started calling him that.
In regards to that, man, like I don't participate in all of that. I think it's a problem that we've become where people don't just enjoy the stories. People want to argue about the stories too much. And not even people don't even want to argue about the points of the stories that truly matter as far as the emotional characters and the depths. They want to argue about little minute continuity errors or this and that. And those things aren't important. The important part of the story is how it affected you as a person. What did it make you think and feel? If you're not thinking about that when you're going into whatever form of entertainment, whether it's you listening to a piece of music, watching a film, reading a book, comic, whatever, that's the thing that needs to be the primary focus. The primary focus shouldn't be, oh my gosh, they did this issue way back in the day, man. It totally contradicts this issue I'm reading. So this issue I'm reading right now is wrong. Okay, well, don't concern yourself about that tiny minute thing, because all that tiny minute thing is doing is, one, making you obsess over something, and two, making you not enjoy something as much as you potentially could if you didn't think about it in that manner and you just enjoyed it for a story. There's no story throughout human history that's been told consecutively that is all told properly. Even the story of humanity, we contradict our own history.
Mm-hmm.
So just enjoy the story.
Oh, I mean, I've already done about 40 dozen retcons on Starship Moonhawk in the 30 years that it has been in existence. That's of course my series. If you're not familiar with my works,
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, that happens.
yeah.
There's no, and yeah, sorry, man. Look, that's the whole thing of like, there's no way anybody could be familiar with everyone's work because there are so many comics that come. Like I said, like Tony Fleece, literally right now is doing Local Man with Tim Seeley. He's doing what I'm being annoyed. I can't remember it to the point where Feral, which is like a dog zombie. It's a good book. He's also doing what's the word that I'm missing? Oh, Uncanny Valley, which is very much like a Roger Rabbit esque type story,
Nice.
and has been freaking hilarious. And then Army of Darkness. Oh, what's the? Have you ever seen the director's cut ending of Army of Darkness where he ends up in the future?
Took a couple too many drops.
Have you ever wanted to know how that went?
I had the bootleg edition of it, so I've
No,
seen the
no.
original.
I mean, have you ever wanted to know what happened after he woke up in the future?
Oh, okay.
Because that's what Tony. Oh, Army of Darkness Forever. That's what it is. That's what Tony Fleece is writing right now. Is what happened after he woke up in the future. Like he's writing the next part of the ending of that director's cut.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because that left a lot of unanswered questions because it was just him screaming no on the edge of a cliff, you know?
that whole comic has been pretty crazy. Like as far as like if you're a fan of Army of Darkness and like sci-fi in any way, man, I would highly recommend Army of Darkness Forever by Fleece because it's got that ash humor too, you know.
It takes the mystery out of that alternate reality.
But the way that he did it is like, and I told him this when we brought him on. I was like, dude, I started reading the first issue of this, and for a second, my brain hurt. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, why? I was like, because you were jumping back and forth between time like crazy. He's like, oh yeah. I was like, look, I loved it once it like dawned on my brain how many places you were jumping back and forth between. But I mean, it's really well written in that regard, and how he did a damn good job, dude. And I think it was interesting, and then we got the whole story as far as how he was approached by what I think it's IDW or no, it's Dynamite. And they were like, "You have an Army of Darkness story?" And he pitched that one. He's like, "Nobody's ever done that," which I honestly can't believe if you look at all the Army of Darkness comics, that hadn't been done before. Because there's a lot of Army of Darkness comics.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the campy theatrical ending of the movie as much as the next guy. It took us some time for me to fully appreciate the bootleg edition original ending.
Yeah, technically speaking, that's the European edition ending. Like, that's the one.
Yeah,
that,
because he does appear because the destroyed city that he's looking over is London.
Yep.
Oh yeah, it is. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Big Ben's there and everything.
Supposedly Sam Raimi was going to try to bring all the universes together because you have the non-comedic horror version of the Evil Dead that was done by, what was it, Romero? The George Romero version, I want to say.
Romero-esque.
Yeah.
Well, no. There's two Evil Dead films. The old films. There's there's Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, and then there's Army of Darkness, and then they did one way later. Well, they've done two.
They did a television series.
Well, yeah, Ash versus the Evil Dead.
It was
the Evil Dead.
Army of Darkness, wasn't it? Or was it Evil Dead? I don't remember.
It's Ash versus the Evil Dead.
There we go.
Yeah.
But that was a continuation. That was a continuation of the humorous Raimi version of it, with Ash much older and with new charges. Yeah. But what I'm talking about is in the 2010s they did a another more serious version with Sam Raimi as a producer, but not as a writer director.
Oh, wasn't that a remake?
It was supposed to be a remake.
No, it was Fede Alfaro's, and that was there was speculation that was supposed to be Ash's daughter, and then they did Evil Dead Rise, and I think it was either at the end of the Evil Dead or Evil Dead Rise, you hear Ash's voice. At the end credits, I don't remember, but I know there's been a tease that one of the characters in one of those films is Ash's in some capacity, and that's why I think it was in the second Evil Dead Rise. They're saying that the main female character is Ash's kid, and that's why she was able to survive it, or at least that's a theory. I don't know if it's been publicly.
Well, Raimi has been teasing for a while that he was going to unify the two timelines. That he was going to make it make sense somehow.
Well, they're all part of the same continuity.
And
they've got 2 films that I know they've got planned to make, but they haven't titled them yet. That's one of the things you're on one of my nerddoms there. Like, I love some Evil Dead, man. I can't lie. I had the chance to have Mark Verheiden on this show, and he did a lot of stuff for Evil Dead. He actually was one of the people that helped with My Name is Bruce.
Okay.
So yeah. I would love to get a chance to talk to Bruce Campbell about that, let me tell you.
Oh yeah. And he's still as gung-ho as ever about it. He wants to be part of all of it.
I think I seen something from him recently, though, that he was like, it was about to be the last time for him to really be Ash, which is understandable. I mean, there are certain characters, regardless of how gung-ho the actor is, you can only play them to a certain point, depending on how they want them to age,
Well, it's like Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones. He says, "This is the last time I'll fall down for you wearing the fedora."
Yeah.
He also doesn't want anyone else to play Indiana Jones.
Hey, but look, regardless of how much padding you got, at a certain age, at a certain point, when you fall, it doesn't matter how much padding is there.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Doesn't matter how much of a badass Ford is, the fact that he did most of the Force Awakens with a broken foot.
He's still in his 80s.
Yeah.
That's one of the things, man. Like I heard, though, and I might be wrong in this, but I heard that he said he would only come back and play Solo if they killed Solo.
Right.
I think I've heard that. Yeah.
Oh, he wanted to die off as early as Return of the Jedi. There's a famous quote about that where he said where he went to George Lucas and said, "What if I don't survive the Jabba's barge scene?" And George said, "Dead men can't sell toys."
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
That's a very, very, very valid point. that's dead man can't sell toys.
And I've actually learned
people have heard that.
And I've actually learned something new.
I don't know about that, considering that they made like a Star Wars figure of like everyone in the movies.
Well, but at the time, Lucas was in the middle of a bitter divorce,
right?
And needed money.
You'd think he would have gone for it because that bitter divorce gave us Temple of Doom.
Well, I just learned something new, though, that Return of the Jedi was actually not going to be about the redemption of Darth Vader. That Lucas had originally planned that was going to be all about rescuing Han. That there was a scene cut from Empire Strikes Back. That they weren't going to rescue. That they were setting up that the entire third film was going to be a rescue, and that it was going to dovetail into another trilogy about Darth Vader's redemption. And Luke Skywalker defeating the Empire. And Fox didn't want to go for that, so Lucas consolidated all of his ideas into one film that is the tragedy we call Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, probably better that way.
Yeah, it probably is, but it would have been interesting. It would have been interesting to see what he would have come up with. And the redemption of Darth Vader wouldn't have come so far out of nowhere. We would have had time to set that up.
Right.
Because there really wasn't much of a setup. I just feel good in here. Okay. Well, now throw the Empire.
Well, it's been pointed out elsewhere. It's also very disproportionate to the crimes that Darth Vader committed over the years versus,
Indeed.
it's like, okay, you did one good thing that doesn't really absolve him of, like slaughtering children multiple times.
Well, we didn't
I
know
think-
at the time that's what he had done, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Nobody knew that at the time. I think it's funny though because I have a pre-show questionnaire for the guests that come on the show. Like, if you're going to come on the show, I send you this list. It's however many questions it is. It gets modified regularly, and they fill it out. One of the questions that's always been a constant is, "What is your favorite movie?" I've had the Empire Strikes Back answered. I'd say I couldn't tell you how many times, but enough times to where I'm like, oh, that's been an answer enough times where I note it. And I think I had Return of the Jedi like once. Why do you guys consider Return of the Jedi such a terrible Star Wars film? I'm curious. I don't think I've ever heard such a negative opinion towards that.
God, this is going to turn into Clerks.
Honestly, I've always liked Return of the Jedi, so...
Okay,
Yeah.
so I have a short answer for it. As a child, when I was 6 and saw it in the theaters, when I was a child and I was 6 years old and I saw it in the theaters, I thought it was great, and I loved the Ewoks. Now I'm not so sure about it. But here's the thing. Empire Strikes Back was a professionally written film whose original premise was laid down by the late, great Leigh Brackett, who was a professional science fiction writer who understood the genre, particularly pulp noir. And so she combined those three elements into this sweeping storyline, and then Lucas was able to, after her passing, kind of massage it into the film that we know today, so that it better fit his vision for the universe.
Well, him and Ivan Reitman.
You mean Irvin Kershner?
Yeah, Irvin Kershner. Sorry, I get those two confused for some reason.
Yeah, Irvin Kershner was also a superior director who typically came out of the stables to put things together. So it was a perfect storm. Basically, you had this amazing writer lay the foundation, who worked with Lawrence Kasdan and George Lucas to finalize the film before she passed away of cancer in 1979. Then you had this really solid director who knew how to take garbage and turn it into art.
Well, yeah, like Return of the Jedi very famously has a pretty not good director in Richard Markle.
It was his big screen directorial debut, and the big problem with it was George Lucas was interfering with his ability to direct the film all the way through.
Well, let me ask you, have you ever thought about this though? So Star Wars gets everybody in there, then they have this big, and then they have Empire Strikes Back. It gets all the dads ostensibly to nerd out about it, to where they all end up taking their kids to that last one. The kids all see the Ewoks; they all love the Ewoks.
Right.
Don't you in that get the full audience and achieve what you're trying to as an entertainer?
Well, yes, but see, here's the problem with Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi. So as I go back to Empire Strikes Back, it's a 5-act structure. It flows nicely. It has a professional director. Return of the Jedi is a directorial debut for an untried motion picture director, interfered with constantly by the creator, and written in 3 acts, so that the second act, before we even get to the meeting between Luke Skywalker and the Emperor in the climactic 3rd act, you have this 62-minute long funeral dirge of a second act going on, where they're just throwing all sorts of information at you and nothing is really happening.
And that goes into the writing problems, because all of the emotional investment in Return of the Jedi is in with Luke and his father. It's
at the very end.
Yep. Leia, Han, their story's actually done. Like, what, a third of the way through?
Yep.
And
You're lucky I don't have Fred Kennedy on this conversation. He'd be having a fucking A-day.
But that's the bottom line is that it's structurally if structurally the film is unsound. It has a very satisfying ending, in my opinion. And if you started right with the point to where Luke goes down to Endor and confronts Vader and the Emperor, if that was the whole film, was that 38-minute ending sequence, it would be amazing. Or if we started with the rescue of Han Solo and then went right to the third act, so you have the first act, keeping in mind what I just said about the original plan was that this was going to be one film about rescuing Han Solo from Jabba and then, possibly dovetailing into another trilogy. If you keep that in mind, then this viewpoint starts to make sense. You realize that the whole that 62-minute second act was really just shoehorned in there to try to justify the ending.
To justify the Ewoks. Because Lucas tried to make them a Vietnam War allegory. The whole primitive technology angle. I mean, this is what he said.
He just wanted a primitive race of people to defeat the technologically superior galactic empire.
Right.
And it's a mess. It's a mess.
The problem is that's not what actually happened in Vietnam, and also the Ewoks are a bit too technologically primitive to have credibility.
Well, you don't try to tell a ham-fisted message with a fistful of turkey.
True enough.
Well, have you guys heard of Star Wars? Have you guys heard of Star Wars? The comics getting ready to drop.
What's that now?
The comics getting ready to drop on Kickstarter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Heard of it?
Circling back to our original theme of the podcast.
Yeah, I'm like,
well,
no, I don't think I only that one.
Look, I only bring that up because literally, Mindy Wheeler, one of her and her husband Mike Wheeler, that are writing it and doing the art and everything, they're doing this series called Star Wars right now, which is obviously a parody. And what do you guys think of the fair parody law?
It's good.
You mean parody is fair use? Sure.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think it's great. Anytime you're punching up, you're in the right. You're only in the wrong when you're punching down. When you're punching back at people that can't defend themselves. So taking the piss out of a mega franchise like Star Wars is infinitely fair game as far as I'm concerned.
You know who Lady Death is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So she made what's the Darth? I don't remember what they named the. I can't remember the name. Lady Darth. It's Lady Darth. That's what it is. And it's a character very, very much. Yeah. Okay. So you guys already see where I'm going with this.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think happened?
Like something sexual.
Well, no, but it's Lady Darth. So clearly, it's gonna look. We'll say it looks similar to Lady Death, and I say that because it's a female who's supposed to look very, very sexual, kind of in very skimpy black things and white because Darth Vader was white, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they've just had some interesting issues with Coffin Comics. If you know who that is.
Not offhand.
Brian Polito, the guy who used to run Chaos, who Coffin Comics now contains Lady Death, El Muerte, and Lady Gunslinger are getting ready to start. He's Evil Ernie's the character that he didn't garner the rights to, so unfortunately they don't have them. Yeah, there's a little bit of hostility going down between them two, to the point where now they have a Emperor Palpatine, and he's literally in the comic book.
Wow.
Yeah, they put Brian Polito in the comic.
Reminds me of what we were talking about last week. But anyway, to comics drama.
I missed last week because I was out of town, as I indicated in the pre-show. So I haven't had a chance to listen to the VOD.
Yeah. And we had a comic book creator who had his own drama to deal with. Like, yeah.
Not that I know anything about drama in comics creation. Wink.
Indeed.
It's one of those things like but there's drama in entertainment industry based on the fact that it's a bunch of people trying to get a bunch of people's eyes, and
Yeah.
in the long run that's what you're looking for. So there's a level of competition, and some people take it very, very unhealthily. It's taken all kinds of ways, man. I seen it, like I said, when I did hip hop, when I was running the radio. You see it. It is what it is.
Right.
Drama's in any field. Like, you're not going to be free of it.
Well, particularly in the creative field, or in any field where you have people who, whether stated directly or not, are in competition with each other for success.
Right.
What they don't realize, though, is it's better to come together, because the more that they come together collectively and push whatever they're trying to push, the more we'll all sell. It references back to the other book that I pulled out when I pulled out that wizard, that being Sun Tzu's The Art of War, which is also on my bookshelf.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the problem. You can either have intellect or emotion. They usually come into conflict with each other. Unfortunately, you very rarely have both.
That's just called emotional intelligence, man.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Yes.
in terms of comic coverage, do you just stick to printed material, or do you seek out creators from the web as well?
I seek out creators in a number of different ways, man. We've had people that just do web comics. We've had people that do published comics. Like I said, I think if you look back through all the guests, we've had a bit of level of everything, in all sincerity. Now, I am getting to the point where two other individuals are going to end up taking over all the booking of the show. That being Scott Wojak and Vladimir Povov. So we're going to see what they do. I know that we got Ross Ritchie coming up, who is the creator of Boom Studios over there, and he's got a lot in the works. So, I mean, they're taking over the booking, so I can hopefully spend a little bit more time handling everything else, as well as I got Shiro Gautier going to help update all the graphics and everything and keep everything looking nice and clean. So when I go to edit a video, she's got me the graphic I need to throw whatever I need to together. So, I mean, season 2's, like, going into season 2, man, it was a significant change. We also have Dave. Dave Wilburn runs This Week in Comics. Every week we're live off the Facebook. Just talking about what comics have come out. You know what I'm saying? Just chatting about them. You can always catch him over there every Wednesday. I typically am in the chat at least discussing with him, but today I was talking to David, so I couldn't be in that, but you can, yeah. So we try to keep constant on that, but yeah, I mean, it becomes difficult when you, like, there's no way we could cover every comic that comes out. It's not possible. Just like Dave showed me the amount of comics they get in at Mages, just print wise, it is bloody ridiculous. So it becomes a bit of a balancing act, and also you got to figure out what's best for the show, what people most want to see. So it's just the process of working on that.
Who you can get?
I'm booked out to I'm booking in September right now. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, that's where we're booking. Like I said, I mean, I just had a great conversation with Ron Mars that should be up in the next couple of days. I got Howard Wong's dropping tomorrow, and he's got stories about Hot Toys, Bandai. Talking about working on the Iron Man experience at Disney, and like Kevin Feige being there, and like wild stories. And then, yeah, like I said, we got Ron Mars coming up after that. We got into the Marvel versus DC because he was a big part of that, and they're getting ready to drop that omnibus. I couldn't tell you how booked we are at this point, man. But I mean, it's that's why, in all sincerity, they're going to take over the booking. Because I mean, they're both comic book professionals. You know, Vlad's been a colorist. He's worked for Mad Cave. He's worked for Dynamite. He's worked for Boom. I think he's IDW. I don't have his credentials in front of me, but I know he's worked for at least 3 of those 4 companies, if not all 4. And then Scott's out there at cons all the time, pushing what he's doing with Zero Box Time Machine and everything. So, you know, they're helping network the show on another level. If it wasn't for Scott, we wouldn't have had Alan Henry on the show.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a crazy balance.
Yeah.
We can relate.
I'll tell you what it is it's just the more that we're able to get guests on and they enjoy themselves and then they know someone else. You know, like I know for a fact when we were talking to David, he said he knew it wasn't Mike, it was who else did we have? We just had someone else on for me. I can't even keep track of everybody that's been on the show unless I have the list in front of my face.
Yeah, now that we're in the 600-700 episode range over the last 15 years.
Yeah.
Not to mention a couple of spin-off shows.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
Fragments of Silicon is actually a spin-off of Moonhawk Studios Presents. It used to be a feature on this show, and now this show is on that channel because I'm putting all my podcasting in one place. We've lost more of our archive. So many empires have risen and fallen. So many companies that we've interviewed have changed hands over the last 15 years. It's unreal.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Not everyone who we've talked to is still alive.
Right.
Like, so.
Yeah, that's an odd one. Like,
Yeah.
I had one incident. I was like, I don't want you to, because oh man, it makes me draw back. I can't. It just you know, it starts to blend together at a certain point. What can you say?
Yeah. You know, we still talk about this to this day. I always bring up the late great Larry Latham. He was on our podcast back in 2010, and he passed away of cancer in November of 2014, I believe it was. And you know, we brought him on ostensibly to talk about his webcomic Lovecraft is Missing, and dovetailed into this conversation that apparently he worked as an executive producer for Hanna-Barbera back in the late 70s, early 80s. And his office was like 3 doors down from Joseph Barbera's office. And talked about, you know, pitch meetings and sessions and stuff like that, and the seasons of the Super Friends that he worked on, and how he was co-creator of the Snorks.
Yep.
And we're like,
it's like, I'm like, wow, my Saturday morning childhood has come to such an unexpected fashion.
Mm-hmm.
That reminds me of it was the first time we had Laverne on, and he's telling a story about Laverne, or was it Tim? Was it Tim or was it Laverne's? I'm 90% sure it was Laverne. I might be wrong. This has been one of the very, very early on quests. We're talking about Jack Kirby came up and put him in a headlock thinking he was somebody else.
Amazing.
Like, it's just a whole process. I'm like, imagine you're just chilling and all of a sudden Jack Kirby just throws you in a headlock because he thinks you're like like a boxer. What are you doing in that moment, man? It's Jack Kirby.
Right?
Yeah.
You're still getting punched in the ribs.
My vital meats.
My sweet meats.
I mean, well, don't go around putting people in headlocks. Like,
It's only a
But you
problem
got-
if they don't wake up afterwards. I mean, wait, what?
Lord.
I mean, am I wrong though?
Violence isn't the answer until it's the only answer.
Violence
Right.
is the answer. It's the question.
Violence is the language of the unheard. Martin Luther King Jr.
I mean, very true.
Yep.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. But yeah, we're digressing. Go figure.
Right. It wouldn't be
Yeah.
much. It wouldn't be much of a nerd podcast if it was. If there
Yeah.
wasn't digression.
That's,
Anyway, so how long is one of your seasons?
I don't know.
What? We're still in the first season after like 98 episodes. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
No. Look, we've already started the second season. The first season was like, and then now you got to make me go look.
So now,
Live
so basically, it's like television series in the 1950s. It's like, well, I don't know. It could be 22 episodes. It could be 39 episodes. We don't know. It's just whenever we feel like stopping for the year.
No, it's like Clarissa Explains It All.
I don't think
Haven't
there's
got
a
that.
single. I don't think there's a single show out there that has as many episodes as the first season of the Questionnaire, unless you're gonna be like, Raw. I think that maybe here. Let's see. So technically, the first episode doesn't exist, but
Okay.
so we started the second episode of the Questionnaire, which is Matt Hawkins. That's because the first episode was also Matt Hawkins. It was a phenomenal quest. It really was, but the entirety of it was lost and is not able to be recovered. But there are 84 total, except there's no. So there's 84 episodes, but no one will see episode 1 or quest 1.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's a bummer.
yeah. The first quest is gone to the nethers, but there were 84 quests in total in the first season, as well as we did some pan cons and some other things here and there, but. Yeah, the actual primary show, there were 84. And then I think we're on like I said, I just dropped episode 22 of season 2 tomorrow with Howard Ball. And I don't know how long season 2 will last. I'll stop it when it stops.
Right. We started with a policy of 26 and out. We would do 26 episodes and then we would do a 4-week break and then do another 26 episodes. So it didn't have a specific start and end, like quarter or season or anything like that. But
Now the show's on 21 episodes with a month and a half break.
well, that's because we're old now.
Well,
we're
speak for
also
yourself.
taking-
My program still goes for 26 weeks with 2 weeks off.
We also take breaks for like big holidays, like Christmas.
Right.
Stuff like that.
The 21 episode reduction, the 5 episode reduction on this show was largely due to the fact that it prevents me from being in absentia as much.
Hmm.
I mean, we still have issues like last week and such, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
At least we haven't had a canceled show yet this season.
Yeah.
Or
go
will
ahead.
I said
that
yet.
happens.
All right, let the guest
Yeah.
speak.
But yeah, I mean that happens though as far as canceled shows, and I mean like, that's funny. You guys have a set number of that, and but look, it's the Questionnaire. It's hosted by a guy that's a hip hop artist named The Unknown Factor. What kind of show would it be if I told you how many episodes there were going to be per season? Like, what kind of quest is that? Do you know when your quest is going to end when you start one?
If it were me, I would probably literally just go by the actual season.
I would assume an element of the enigmatic from such a setup.
Yeah, so it'll end when it, like I said, technically, like the last season or the first season ended with Vlad, interviewing with me being interviewed, and he was interviewing me, and I actually filled out the questionnaire, which is something I said I would never do, but then Vlad asked me, and I was like, fine, dude, I begrudgingly said yes, and then he interviewed me. That's only available on the Patreon, because we very much get in more depth to the hip hop side of things where I started, and Yeah, there were hostilities.
I mean, I'll tell you straight up, our reason is not purely subjective. I'm basically, in terms of my fandoms and my interests, I'm a TV guy, and so I grew up with 22 to 26 episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and a season, and so on and so forth. So I formatted it similarly, but it's all consolidated instead of spread out throughout the year.
I mean, 26 is how you break up the year.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, it's 52 weeks. You can theoretically, you could, without breaks, get 2 seasons per year at 26 episodes apiece. But that's just, like I said, we're getting older, and it's not as easy to maintain a schedule if you don't take time off. That's basically what it is. The hardcore nonstop podcasting game is for the young, Doctor.
For the youth.
Gallivanting around the cosmos is a game for the
Are
young,
you- Are you saying I'm young then, out of curiosity?
well, I mean, if you've got the
I don't
youthful energy, then you could be young in spirit too.
I just don't stop, man. That's all. I'm literally sitting here
Don't stop,
uploading
can't
things
stop.
while I'm conducting this interview with you guys. I literally finished the. Yeah, I know. My brain is 2 tracks with 1,000 trains. They don't collide somehow.
Right?
Yeah.
It just
I
means
don't
you got a good switching system, much better than mine, that's for sure.
Right. I mean, as great as this all has been, we should probably look at wrapping it up, if only because it's about 1:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do technically have to work at my regular job tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah,
For everybody out there, go check out the questionnaire. Look, subscribe to the Patreon, man. We've got so many good guests coming up, man. I've got 2 guys taking over the booking for the show, and stuff's going to step up. Like I said, we just had Ross Ritchie booked coming on from Boom. I've got a lot of different quests coming up with so many different creators, and we get into all kinds of crazy conversations with them, man, as well as, talking about whatever they happen to be doing at that current moment, which is, if you want to know about comic book creators and the comics they're making, I'd like to think we're pretty good at that. You know what I'm saying? That's sometimes we get behind the scenes stuff. Sometimes I get stuff where I'm like, they tell me I have to cut it out after the fact because they got so chill on the show that they said something that they weren't supposed to say yet, and if I release it, they'll get in trouble with somebody. So I have to hold clips, and that's annoying.
Mm.
Check your NDAs.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
No. Know that if you come over to the questionnaire and that happens, we'll wait.
Mhm.
It's not a problem. I don't want to cause that kind of harm to anyone, especially in a professional manner. I would
Yeah.
never do that. That's malice.
Right.
I saved that for the hip hop side of things. If somebody on the hip hop side of things does something like that to me, right? Like if somebody on the hip hop side of things does that to me, they can have all the malice in the world. That's fine. That's a completely different game.
It's like what you just did to us is now the headline of my diss track.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Like I said, totally different game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and check out Kill the Factor too. My brother Mr. DKB is about to drop an album. I'm featuring on like 4 tracks on it, and it's gonna be dope.
That is amazing. Well, you kind of hit my final question, which is always what's coming up. So I think we got that down.
Promo whore, bro. I'm a professional at it. Don't you know?
Damn right. What I think I need to say now is I think after some time has passed, we're going to need to have you back on the show to talk about more stuff. I think that's
always down, man. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
All right. So that was the unknown factor of the questionnaire podcast. We look forward to having him back on the show as soon as is practical. We do have a little bit of entertainment news to discuss, so if y'all want to stick around for that, let's do it. Adam?
All right.
So how about that Twitter? Anyway.
Anyway, so where to start this week? Right.
Mhm.
So we're going to move over to a different set of comics by talking about manga. Like,
Mhm.
specifically, My Hero Academia. Like,
Ah,
Yep.
yes. The finale. Oh
because
Lord, it
Boku
is
no My
coming.
Hero Macadamia is finally going to end soon.
My God, dude.
And he's a
Macadamia?
Japanese guy.
I'm like, look, if you were in studio, we'd slap you.
We take turns slapping him.
Yeah. Anyway,
Such a whimsical comic coming to such a interesting climax.
like, well,
5
Kevin,
more chapters. Yep.
Hey, why
Pretending
y'all
it's-
gotta choose violence? Just calm down.
Because violence brings
Yeah.
ratings.
Well,
know-
you ain't wrong though. You ain't wrong.
If I've seen anything from Jerry Springer,
Unfortunately-
violence brings ratings.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Unfortunately. Anyhow.
Yeah.
So yeah, My Hero Academia is officially ending in 5 more chapters. After I think about 10 years
mhm.
and over what is this week? Coming week. If I remember correctly, about
Are there any spin-offs that are going to keep
420
going?
something.
I mean,
Um,
it is shonen, so you never know.
Never know, but
The
probably not. I
creator's
think
been hinting at something
Maybe.
like that.
maybe, but we'll find out.
Because I've seen
Eventually.
some existing spin-offs, and I didn't know if those had ended yet.
This
Yeah.
is the thing about Japanese studios is that every time they say it's over, and they're never going to do anything else ever again, unless you're like I don't know, Masamune Shiro or Leiji Matsumoto. And the only reason Matsumoto can't do anything anymore is because he's dead.
Well, Shiro moved into porn. Like,
and I'm
right.
pretty sure when Oda says One Piece is done, he means it because
Well,
One
he's-
Piece has nearly
yeah.
killed him.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's
Yeah, but I mean,
said it.
But I'm just saying that the percentage of creators who are like one and done is very low. I mean,
Yeah.
rents are high in Tokyo.
Right.
I mean, it's not necessarily. I mean, technically, they could just move on to the next project
And even if he
or
doesn't,
series.
you
Yeah,
know,
well, maybe somebody else will, but
yeah, like, you know,
I'm pretty. I mean, we're gonna find out eventually if there's going to be, a
My Hero
sequel
Academia,
series.
the new generation or whatever.
Yeah,
Either
I
that
mean,
or with
I
the
mean,
past
You
no,
best
I don't
series.
know.
you mean Borudeku?
I hate that.
Yes.
I hate that so
Yeah.
much.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I do too. Honestly,
This thing drew an inordinate amount of influence from Naruto. So
I'm aware.
who's to say that he's not going to pull that card?
I can't wait till we find out
Well,
quirks are actually
honestly,
from Space Bunnies.
frankly, you know what? Frankly, it's gonna depend on how the series ends because, probably it's gonna end in a way where people are just gonna be like, yeah, maybe you should stay away for a little bit.
If
That
basically if
didn't
One for All
stop Naruto.
doesn't jumpstart again, it's like what can they do going forward? Deku's quirkless.
spoiler alert! Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen.
Yeah, well,
Fair.
well,
I
whatever,
just
but-
realized that. Yeah.
I'm like,
Whoops.
I guess
Well-
you heard it here first, folks. Jesus.
I mean, to be
Well,
fair,
well,
they
well-
did mention this like 3 weeks ago, so it's not like
Well, I know. I'm just giving you garbage.
yeah.
yeah, well, so yeah. Again, it's like it's really going to depend on how it ends because you got to have a setup for a sequel series, and how do you get a sequel series if your main character doesn't have anything to go into it with, and there ain't no kids, and stuff like that.
Mhm.
You gotta have a setup for it.
once again,
You gotta have a setup for it. You have
Once
to have
again,
a setup for it.
Let
Deku,
Adam speak.
you know,
God, I hate that more. Ah!
What did he say?
Dekuto.
Dekuto.
Get the fuck out. Leave.
Deku tail.
by
Look.
way of truck leave.
Look, all I'm saying is if we get a new generation of heroes, I won't be surprised. You
Well,
know,
he's gonna have to create it in 4 chapters, otherwise, because they haven't gotten to a full-time skip yet. I'll tell you, all I'll say on that front. So,
Oh yeah, because
you gotta have a setup.
at the end.
You gotta have a setup. You gotta have a setup. That's all I'm
Babies
saying. And,
ever after.
I hate
Like,
that.
Come on,
Why?
especially a shonen series.
I
This
know.
episode is like the cruelest episode of
I
Moonhawk
don't-
Studios
didn't
presents
say
ever.
you were
And we
wrong,
have
but I
to-
don't
and we
have to
have-
like it.
look,
Look. This is.
I'll-
Let me tell you something.
I
This is.
honestly
Oh,
don't
hold
think-
on, Kevin. Hold on a goddamn minute, Kevin. Let me speak for a minute here. All right.
all right.
Hold on a goddamn minute here. I just want to say this is turning out to be the cruelest episode of Moonhawk Studios Presents ever. And we have 2 episodes that if you think you heard them, no, you didn't.
What? Oh. Anyway.
I
Shifting
just wanted to point that out.
shifting to maybe less volatile news, maybe. Talking about shonen series I care about.
Mm-hmm.
Ramna 1/2 is finally getting that long-awaited reboot it needs.
Yeah. Well.
God, does it need one?
Oh God, yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it depends
I mean-
on what they do, because from what I've heard, this might just be a more anime-accurate adaptation, and frankly,
So
the original anime didn't really deviate from the... It did deviate, but not
I just
really in
wanna
much
ask the
ways that
question.
matter.
Well,
I just want to ask the question: if they're modernizing it, isn't the entire premise of Ranma 1/2 built on problematic themes?
Yes, and they
Yes.
didn't really modernize Urusei Yatsura beyond the opening song.
Well, they
So-
did to a point. Like Ataru is a lot less pervy in the new series. I mean,
Okay,
you
so
can't-
maybe you can get Hopposai
Let-
down 2 on a scale of 1 to 10 of problematic. You could maybe get him down to a 13 or 14.
I'm like, here's the thing about Hopusai that
Does it
everyone
even
misses though.
does it
He's
even
not,
work if it's not problematic though? Does it even
Like-
work?
Many of the problems
doesn't.
with it are extremely inherent to the setup, yes.
Okay,
Well,
moving on,
Okay.
Adam. Yes, go on.
Yeah. okay, Hopusai is a statement and a satire on characters like Muten Roshi. The difference between him and Roshi is you're not supposed to like Hopusai. This always gets missed, and it pisses me off. It's
I
like,
know you're not
I'm
supposed to
open
like it, but every time I watch the series, and
I know-
anyone gives Hopposai the benefit of the doubt about anything, which they
Well,
do often because he is old and therefore societally deserving of respect,
Well, it's also
I have a
because
goddamn aneurysm.
A very
it's also
Japanese
because they're
concept in and of
sitcom
itself.
characters and they're really stupid.
Yeah, but they're stupid and there's literally no pattern recognition.
Ranma
It's
Ranma
Rumiko
1/2.
Takahashi. Like-
Rumiko Takahashi is basically the female anime equivalent of Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, it's also like
It's a
if
show
you're gonna
about
do-
nothing.
Yeah,
I
like,
don't know about that.
Ranma
I've
1/2
seen that
does not have
comparison
any
before.
point.
but it's also like Rumiko Takahashi's characters aren't well renowned for growth. Like,
And then
or
when she
doing
gets
different things.
bored with the concept, she just ends with a bunch of people getting married.
Yeah.
Am I lying?
No,
No,
you're not.
No.
That's
just-
Ranma
if you
1/2.
take a-
That's Urusei Yatsura. That is
Inuyasha.
That's Inuyasha. Thank you.
Meizan Ikoke, I think.
Hmm.
But
Because there
But
was no plan going into this. It was just keep going until I run out of jokes.
right.
I think the biggest problem with the original anime was that I don't think it actually gets to the end, even with the fucking OVAs.
Well, I'm just
No,
saying that at
it
least the
gets nowhere near
Seinfeld
the
characters went to jail.
I'm like,
Well, in the manga, they had a wedding. Nobody went through. They didn't go through with it, and it got fucking invaded by like everybody. But
well, the more important thing that happens in the manga is Ramna one half becoming, if you will, at one with both sides of it himself. Accepting his, female side, if you will.
Uh-huh.
I'm like,
I mean, kind of gradually over the course of the series.
yeah,
I don't think Ranma ever gets to the point where he's like, I'm not going to want to get rid of my curse.
that's exactly what happens at the end.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying.
Well,
I'm just
once
saying
again-
the premise of Ranma one half, aside from Happosai's perversion, is that Ranma must keep this duality a secret from his father because his father is the embodiment of toxic masculinity and misogyny.
Yes. And
So-
Ramna is.
My understanding is that the
statement.
jokes in Japanese are very or the intention is that it runs very heavily on bad societal obligations being used by bad people for bad things.
Adam was going to
not
make
just that. Yeah, but not just that, but also the ultra masculinity of martial arts.
right.
That too.
No.
Also, it's his mom that doesn't know and will kill both him and his dad if she finds out he's not a man among men. His dad knows what happened. He was there. It was his.
Well, it'll come back. It's one of the ads
it's
are running.
back.
If you just hit refresh,
Yeah.
it'll probably be broken.
local.
Though the big question that's going on with the Ramna one half community is, are they going to make Ron-chan's hair red?
Because this is supposed to be more anime accurate, and that was an anime original thing.
Yep.
I mean, the manga is black and white, and you know how Rumiko Takahashi is with her own art of color. Whenever she colors her own art, she goes for aesthetics over consistency.
Right. And Ron-chan's hair was never a consistent color when it was colorized. But
nor was
technically
Ranma's.
Technically speaking, it's supposed to be black the whole way through.
They never say anything about the hair color changing in the anime, or in the manga rather.
Yeah. At least that's how I understand it. But it's also, the thing is, female Ramna's red hair is downright iconic.
Mm-hmm.
So
it also doesn't really change much.
Yeah.
Aside from making them look slightly less similar.
Well, from a visual standpoint, it's like Star Trek: The Original Series. Color choices were made to sell color televisions in the 1960s. So for a television series in the late 80s, early 90s to come out like that, it was to make her to visually stand out, especially in like a crowd scene or in heavy action or something like that. That, and there is a sort of obsession, if you will, in Japan with redheaded characters, which I carried over into my own creations.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly high on the list of exotic hair colors to use.
Well, as a redhead myself, I'm also biased, but I digress.
It is interestingly one of the rare hair colors that you actually get in Japan. Usually for people who are part Ainu.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, we don't know much about the remake at this point, other than like the same people who did the modern Urusei Yatsura are working on this one. Now, because they announced this exactly as soon as the Urusei Yatsura remake ended. So, like I said, but yeah, it's like if there's any series that needed a remake for the sake of, getting something that looks manga accurate, it's this one. because the original series went from 1988 or 1989 to 1992. You know, it had a 4-year run, and the manga series ran until 1996. So yeah,
Right.
It's so, and yeah, but by the point that ended, I guess the interest wasn't there anymore. You know, that's just how it was back in the day. You know, a manga adaptation went until it stopped. You know, like, going back to My Hero Academia, if it were done 20, 30 years ago, it'd be the same case. Or it'd be one of the the endless shonen. They come out weekly
it'd be
until
an endless shonen.
Yeah. So, what we're seeing today is a recent, modern phenomenon, and and it's not just shonen that's getting this, because Spice and Wolf just got a remake. That's on that looks to adapt the whole thing. God, what was it? The big shoujo series. Trying to remember. God, I forget. Funimation released it.
Fruit Basket?
Like, that's it. That got a full-on remake. So, this is a popular thing to do now. Anyway, we'll probably have more on this remake, once more details are announced.
Right.
Anyway, we should probably wrap up before more violence happens.
Yeah, and I'm also half asleep here, so.
I just wanted to remind everybody that Star Trek Prodigy will be premiering on Netflix July 1st. So make sure to check that out, so that way, if there is a prayer of finishing the original 3-season arc, basically, we'll call it the Protostar arc, trying to rescue Chakotay from the clutches of the future enemy of the Federation. If you haven't watched Prodigy in the first place, you probably should go do that now. Well made. I thought it was a very well made series, and it is a definite sequel to Star Trek Voyager. And although it does have a lot of kid themes in it, being targeted towards the Nickelodeon audience, I thought it was also very, very respectful of the original source material, and had a lot to add to the franchise. So the Hageman brothers had originally proposed a 3-season arc with Janeway and the kids. Season 2 will feature the adventures of the USS Voyager A under the command of Vice Admiral Catherine Janeway and her ragtag crew of warrants. As well as some other surprise guests from Star Trek Voyager and so on and so forth. So I highly recommend everybody check that out. It'll be 20 episodes that will be dropping all at once, or at least the first 10. Bingeable starting on the 1st, so please check that out, because like I said, we want to have a prayer of convincing Netflix to finance a season 3 to at least give us a satisfying conclusion to that storyline, because I believe that season 2 does end on another potential cliffhanger. Other than that, I will be attempting to come back tomorrow on the Mace Palladino channel with Honkai Star Rail. That currently will be the only program appearing on that channel. Will be our Thursday RPG showcase. A lot of people seem to like it, and I want to get back into the whole VTubing scene that we talked about. And that'll be tomorrow starting at 9 p.m. Pacific. So tune in for that on twitch.tv/The Mace Palladino. Thanks to our guest tonight, the unknown factor of the QUESTionare podcast. Make sure to check that out. That's on YouTube, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And we got a link. We got a link in the general section on the Discord, of course, too.
Podcast places like
You got cut off. What?
Hmm?
Podcast places like what?
Yeah. Spotify.
Yes.
Wherever you get your podcast.
We do have a link in the general section of the Discord, so make sure to join the Fragments of Silicon Discord. And I think that's it for this week. So we'll see you next time. Again, thanks to everybody for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you in the view. Until then, I'm your host, Mac Paladin. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, kids.